Patch 1.7 is a great patch that improved the game. This statement is entirely correct, and I agree with it. But it doesn't mean it fixed the game, and I'm so sick and tired of hearing people say that now the game is truly amazing, it's an absolute masterpiece, and it's the best time to go and play Stalker 2. GSC came down from the heavens and granted us this miraculous patch that finally made the game perfect. No, it did not. The introduction of alife is huge. This is an undeniable fact that now alife is present in the game. Even though it's alife 0.5, because it's worse than the one we had in the original trilogy. It is still something that fits the description of alife, and finally, it allows fights to happen outside of the player's view without their involvement. This is an extremely important update that has a great impact on the gameplay. So now the game should finally stop spawning NPCs behind your back. Okay, to be honest, this happens only during a quest. I myself encountered something similar with fleshes that appear out of nowhere, but let's just consider this an exception. The same thing goes for the newly added Master difficulty. It finally addressed the issue of Stalker 2 not feeling like a survival game. Now instead of resources being scattered around in every single corner, they're actually rare, and the economy has become harder as the prices have become harsher. This is once again a very good improvement compared to what we had in patch 1.6. Resource management is an actual thing now. Once again, it's undeniable that this makes the game better and more enjoyable, but it doesn't fix it. What about the exploration and simple map traversal being extremely tedious and boring? What about the endgame having barely any quests to do? What about the central factions of the zone being ignored and forgotten about? I dare you to boot up Stalker 2 right now and go talk to Voronin. He has 2 dialogue options. Regular NPCs from Call of ptach had twice this amount. Speaking of NPCs, they still have extreme aimbot. Someone please tell me why a highly trained monolith soldier with the best gear has the same aim as a trashy bandit from the outskirts of Rostok. And I can keep on going with the game's issues. One thing I absolutely hate is how cutscenes can't be skipped. It has been 1 year since the game's release. Cutscenes are still unskippable. I have beaten the game 4 times already. I genuinely couldn't care less about rewatching Herman yap about the scanner. In fact, I'm writing this script while in the cutscene I can't skip. The flashlight still doesn't have any real shadows. We've improved the visuals of the game, but we didn't add real shadows because you don't deserve them. Skadovsk is still locked, by the way, you can't leave it. I really hope this is a me problem, because having to use noclip to leave one of the major faction bases 1 year later is just astonishing. Speaking of me problems, let's talk about the optimization for a bit. Now, usually I just completely ignore optimization when talking about any video game, because I mostly talk about the game design and the actual gameplay of the game. But this patch completely ruined my PC. Previously, I was getting stable 60 FPS while playing on the highest settings. Right now, after I decreased my settings to high and set DLSS on performance mode, I am still always below 50 FPS when in Rostok. So I guess you can say that even my PC gave up on Stalker 2. Under my 3-hour-long ultimate review of Stalker, I received multiple comments telling me that the entire video is outdated because of this one patch. I genuinely don't understand why people think that all of a sudden all of the problems of the game dissipated thanks to this one patch. Not only that, but some improvements that are included in this patch feel like genuine rage bait. We have a quote-unquote rework of the artifacts, which is just a glorified UI change. I really don't get why it isn't possible to just bring back values like it was before, giving an absolutely endless array of possibilities for artifact stats. And also bring back healing artifacts while you're at it. This change barely does anything, although it is not the only new addition that has barely any effect. The stamina changes are absolutely abysmal. This is the same level of the patch that added squirrels. GSC was like, we know that stamina is a huge problem in the game, so we made it even worse. Seriously, energy drinks received a nerf. Now if you consume too many, you'll start tripping. Why? There was no need to do that. Stamina is already horrible, and the only thing that somewhat helps it are stamina restoring items. Plus, as I've already discussed, energy drinks are nothing compared to the ones from Call of Pripyat. But the funny thing is that this nerf doesn't even do anything because water exists. That not only gives you better buffs, but also has no side effects. Another part of the new stamina changes is the jogging mode, that allows you to slowly run while your stamina is depleted. Great idea, except it doesn't help with the horrendous stamina management we have. Skiff still manages to get out of breath after 3 seconds of running, and the map is still absolutely enormous. I've did a test. One where I run and then stop to regen and then keep on running, and another one where I simply keep jogging. They're the exact same. The time was the exact same, although I was using the Thunberry artifact that increases my stamina regen, but because artifact spawns are still broken, you can get it extremely early in the game. So in the end, this stamina change is extremely negligible and has little to no effect. The only improvement jogging has is in your first couple of hours before you got yourself a stamina artifact. It seems as if GSE tried to put in as many changes into an alife update patch to make it seem that there's tons of different changes, whereas in reality most of those updates barely fix anything or are useful only in the early game. And here we get to the part of how patch 1.7 manages to fool you. For some very strange reason, Master Difficulty is only available at the start of the game, unlike in the originals where you could select it at any moment. And I know it's because Master Difficulty saves your game once every decade, so you can't play the game normally, but it still doesn't justify why it can't be selected normally. Wait, I'm back here? What? I genuinely can't believe it. I have to redo the entire thing again? This means that you have to start everything from the very beginning, including recompleting the tutorial, going once again into Zalicia and doing all the main story quests. But one thing you have to consider is that the start of the game is extremely well done. Your first 20 hours will be filled with excitement because that's how the game is made. Zalicia, Garbage and Zaton all have numerous side quests, interesting locations, and are just overall so packed with content that it feels incredible. But the game takes a huge step down after you complete the Circa mission. The endgame features no side quests whatsoever and an extremely convoluted main story path that forces you to travel kilometers on foot without anything happening in between. And all the previously discussed problems weren't addressed as well. The patch offered some significant improvements, this is undeniable, but the game is still mid, it still has many flaws. It's just that people haven't gotten to see those flaws yet. Everyone is currently replaying the game on Master Difficulty, which makes it genuinely harder and thus extends the playtime even further. Meaning that right now, at least at the time of writing the script, many people haven't reached Circa yet, and thus don't know the trash fest that's about to happen afterwards. Back in 2024, when Stalker 2 first released, the situation was the exact same. On release date, everyone was saying that Stalker 2 was amazing because they didn't get far enough into the story to actually notice the game's flaws. And right now, in this very moment, the people who are replaying the game on Master Difficulty are getting fooled the same exact way, which leads them to say that the game is amazing and everything was fixed. I have to agree that I was in the same boat when the game first released. In my first 10 to 20 hours, I was also thinking that it was amazing and had no flaws, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. But I'm not getting fooled twice, and you are. So basically this entire video was made to say how much better and smarter I am than you, but in all seriousness, this deceiving start of the game isn't the only thing fooling players. Many players seem to forget to judge the game as a sequel. People look back at previous versions of the game and are like, yeah, this is so much better. Obviously, it would be better. These are patches, their job is to improve the game. Instead of comparing Stalker 2 to how it was 6 months ago, compared to the original trilogy, because only this way is possible to see the game's flaws and errors. Stalker 2 is first and foremost a sequel and thus must be treated as such. A sequel must be better or at least on the same level as the originals, but Stalker 2 isn't. Stop saying the game is perfect and has no flaws, because that's simply not true. It's good to acknowledge that the devs are updating the game and making it better. But you also need to keep pointing out the errors that weren't fixed, so the studio knows what's wrong and what needs to be worked on. There is no point in glazing GSC, especially if we consider that all of those features were supposed to be in the game since day one. Thank you everyone for watching, remember to like and subscribe, and I see you in the next video.